Tici problemum of powerlessness. Listen closely. For if you wish to understand why men fail, why nations decay, and why empires crumble, you must first confront the root of weakness. The problem is not that humanity lacks ambition. No, ambition burns in every heart. Every man dreams of greatness. Every woman envisions freedom. Every youth believes they were born for more than chains. Yet most will remain chained. Most will live and die as servants to forces greater than themselves. And the tragedy is not that they were denied the chance. It is that they surrendered it. You see, the disease that corrodes the spirit of men is not hunger, nor poverty, nor even oppression. It is powerlessness. The illusion that one is too small to matter, too fragile to resist, too dependent to change anything at all. This poison seeps into the veins of society, convincing millions that their fate is sealed, that fortune is a mistress who toys with them, that nothing they do can alter the course of their lives. And once a man believes this, he has already accepted his defeat. Pause and look around you. How many people do you know who speak of their dreams, yet take no steps toward them? How many complain of their rulers, their employers, their circumstances, yet bow their heads the moment resistance requires sacrifice? They sigh, they curse their fate, they whisper about what could have been. But they never act. They mistake weakness for humility, cowardice for wisdom, and submission for peace. In truth, they are prisoners who do not even rattle their chains. And why is this? Because powerlessness is comforting. It offers a perverse form of security. If you believe you have no power, you also believe you bear no responsibility. If life is beyond your control, then failure is not your fault. You may sleep with a clear conscience, even as your life rots away, because you have convinced yourself that nothing could be done. This is the most dangerous lie of all, the lie that excuses inaction. But powerlessness is not real. It is a construction, a story told by those who benefit from your submission. Kings maintain their thrones not by divine right, but by convincing the people they are powerless to overthrow them. Employers demand obedience not because workers are weak, but because workers believe they cannot unite. Even the smallest tyrant in the smallest corner of the world sustains his rule by infecting others with the illusion of helplessness. And so the masses kneel, not because they must, but because they have been taught to. Consider history. Every revolution, every uprising, every transformation began with a simple realization: we are not powerless. The peasants who stormed palaces, the soldiers who defied corrupt generals, the thinkers who silenced dogma with truth. None of them possessed extraordinary gifts. They possessed only the will to reject powerlessness. The moment they refused to believe the lie, they became dangerous. They became alive. Yet in our age, the problem persists. Modern men and women are surrounded by tools, by knowledge, by opportunities that their ancestors could never imagine. And still, they cry that they cannot change their lives. They drown in distractions, intoxicated by entertainment, paralyzed by comfort. They speak of destiny as if destiny were a god who dictates their every breath. They worship chance, as if chance alone could crown them with victory. They kneel before circumstance, as if circumstance were stronger than will. They have made powerlessness their religion. And here lies the cruel irony: those who believe themselves powerless become instruments of the powerful. The one who thinks he cannot fight serves the one who knows he can. The one who claims he cannot lead follows blindly the one who dares to lead. The one who says he cannot resist becomes the obedient soldier of tyranny. In surrendering their own strength, they lend it to others who wield it against them. Thus the masses create their own chains, forge their own masters, and call it fate. Do you understand now? Powerlessness is not merely a personal tragedy. It is a collective disease. It infects families, communities, nations. It spreads silently, teaching each generation to bow as the last did, to accept limits, to silence their own desires. And the rulers smile because they need not even raise their swords. The people disarm themselves. The people silence their own voices. The people choose obedience before they are even commanded. But why does this disease endure century after century? Because it is easy. It is easier to complain than to act, easier to curse the powerful than to outwit them, easier to hope for rescue than to rescue oneself. Powerlessness asks nothing of you, except that you waste your life waiting. And so the majority accept it, finding strange comfort in their chains, and mocking those who struggle to break free. Yet understand this truth: there is no middle ground. To live is to struggle for power. Power over yourself, power over your destiny, power over the forces that would cage you. If you do not seize it, someone else will. If you do not rise, you will serve. If you do not command, you will be commanded. This is the nature of the world, and to deny it is to invite ruin. And so, the first problem we must solve is not how to gain strength, but how to destroy the illusion of weakness. The chains are not forged of iron. They are forged of belief. Break belief, and you break the chains. But as long as men believe they are powerless, they will remain powerless, and the throne of the cunning will stand unshaken. Now that we have torn open the problem of weakness, let us step deeper into the shadows, where truth is stripped of illusion, where the masks of morality fall away, where power reveals itself in its purest form. This is the Machiavellian truth, a truth that frightens the timid, enrages the nadvi, but empowers the one who dares to hear it. And I will not whisper it gently. I will carve it into your mind so that you can no longer lie to yourself. Understand this first. The world does not reward the virtuous simply for being virtuous. Men speak of justice, of kindness, of fairness, but history records the triumph of those who understood power, not of those who merely prayed for it. Fortune is not the ally of the pure. Fortune is the ally of the strategic, and strategy demands a clarity that most men are too frightened to embrace. The Machiavellian truth is that power is not given, it is taken. Those who wait for recognition will rot waiting. Those who trust others to deliver them greatness will die betrayed. To rise, you must be cunning. To command, you must be ruthless and disciplined. To endure, you must embrace the reality that men are moved not by lofty ideals, but by fear, desire, and self-interest. This is not cynicism. This is anatomy. The anatomy of the human heart exposed in its rawest form. Look at the rulers of the past. Do you believe Julius Caesar carved his name into eternity because he was good? No. He conquered because he understood men. He knew they desired spectacle, so he gave them glory. He knew they feared chaos, so he offered order through himself. He knew his rivals envied him, so he struck before they struck him. He did not wait for justice. He created the conditions that made him indispensable, and in that indispensability, he became untouchable. This is the truth Machiavelli handed to the world. Men are not angels. They are fickle, fearful, hungry for advantage. They love while it is easy, but they betray when it is useful. If you build your life on the belief that people will honor their promises, you will be devoured. But if you build your strategy on the certainty that men will serve themselves, you will never be surprised. You will never be caught unprepared. And you will always have the upper hand. Yet here is the irony. Most people recoil from this truth. They prefer to believe in fair play, in noble virtue, in eternal loyalty. They find comfort in ideals because ideals are simple, predictable, clean. But the world is not clean. The world is war dressed in ceremony. It is ambition dressed in diplomacy. It is fear dressed in faith. To survive, you must see beyond the mask. To win, you must use the mask to your advantage. The Machiavellian truth is not that you must be cruel, but that you must be willing to be cruel when the situation demands it. It is not that you must be dishonest, but that you must understand honesty is a tool, not a law. When honesty strengthens you, wield it. When deception protects you, use it. Principles are not chains to bind you. They are weapons to be chosen with precision. The fool dies clutching his rigid code. The cunning man lives, adapts, and reigns. Think carefully on this. Weakness does not come from lacking kindness. Weakness comes from believing kindness alone will save you. Strength does not come from abandoning morality. Strength comes from mastering morality as one mask among many. To command men, sometimes you must inspire them with noble words. Other times you must terrify them into obedience. The genius is not the one who chooses one path forever. The genius is the one who knows when to switch. And this truth applies not only to kings and conquerors, but to you. In your daily life, you face the same game of power, though the battlefield may be smaller. Do you want to rise in your work? Then understand that merit alone will not carry you. Talent is common. Strategy is rare. You must see where alliances can be formed, where rivals can be weakened, where silence is more powerful than protest, where boldness is more persuasive than timidity. You must know how to speak when words advance you, and when to withhold them to breed curiosity. This is the art of advantage. And what of relationships? Do you imagine loyalty is eternal? It endures only as long as it serves both sides. To believe otherwise is to invite betrayal. But if you accept this truth, you may cultivate bonds that are strong not because they are idealistic, but because they are mutually fortified by self-interest. When both parties benefit, the bond endures. When one no longer benefits, it dissolves. If you expect this, you cannot be undone by it. If you exploit this, you can bend it to your favor. The Machiavellian truth is not comfortable, but it is liberating. Once you accept that men are driven by fear and gain, you can predict them. Once you accept that virtue is admired but not decisive, you can wield it as theater while acting with precision behind the curtain. Once you accept that fortune favors the bold strategist, not the passive dreamer, you will no longer wait, you will move. What you must kill within yourself is the child's belief that the world is fair. It is not. The world is a chessboard, and every man is a piece. Some are pawns, moved and sacrificed without thought. Others are knights, bishops, rooks, dangerous but limited. And then there are those who learn not only how the pieces move, but how to move them. These become kings not by birthright, not by luck, but by strategy. This is the Machiavellian truth: ideals without power are helpless, but power without ideals can command the world. And the man who masters both, who knows when to cloak himself in virtue and when to strike with cold calculation, becomes untouchable. Now we arrive at the point where dreams either die or are forged into destiny. The path of ruthless discipline. You have heard the truth: power is seized, not given. You have seen the disease powerlessness, the illusion that paralyzes the masses. But to rise above both, you must walk a road that few are willing to walk. It is not paved with comfort, not decorated with applause, not softened by mercy. It is brutal, cold, and exacting. Yet it is the only road that leads to mastery, discipline. A word men toss about lightly, as if it were nothing more than waking early or skipping indulgence. They mistake it for routine, for minor acts of self-control. But true discipline, the kind that bends fortune, the kind that conquers empires, is far more ruthless. It is the art of chaining yourself before the world can chain you. It is the will to deny pleasure, to silence weakness, to crush distraction, until your entire being is a sharpened instrument of purpose. Without it, cunning rots into wasted potential. Without it, ambition collapses under its own weight. Discipline is the spine of power. Consider this: most men fail not because they lack vision, but because they lack endurance. They begin with fire, but the fire dies at the first cold wind. They speak of their plans, but when discomfort strikes, they retreat. They long for greatness, but they are unwilling to suffer for it, and so they remain ordinary. Discipline is the dividing line, the great separator between the dreamers and the rulers. For while talent is common, while desire is universal, discipline is rare. Ruthless discipline does not negotiate with weakness. It does not ask whether you feel inspired. It does not bend to fatigue. It does not permit the luxury of excuses. It is a contract written in iron, signed by your will, enforced every day with the severity of a tyrant. Imagine a prince who governs his kingdom with laxity, allowing indulgence to rule. His kingdom decays, his army softens, his enemies close in. Soon his crown falls. Now imagine that same prince ruling himself with equal negligence. His mind decays, his body softens, his rivals overtake him. Soon his ambition dies. This is why discipline must rule as your sovereign, stricter than any external tyrant. The path of ruthless discipline is lonely. It demands that you rise when others sleep. It commands you to work when others rest. It forces you to endure scorn from those who do not understand why you deny yourself. They will call you obsessive, rigid, joyless. But these same men will bow when you surpass them. Remember, their laughter is the laughter of the weak mocking the strong. They laugh because your discipline exposes their lack of it. They laugh because you remind them of what they could be, but are too feeble to attempt. And discipline is not confined to labor. It governs every realm of life. Discipline in speech, knowing when silence is sharper than words. Discipline in thought, directing the mind toward strategy, not toward fantasies. Discipline in desire, resisting the seductions that waste your strength. Discipline in ambition, holding to your path even when no applause greets you. It is a ruthless overseer, but one that makes you untouchable. For the man who governs himself cannot be governed by others. Understand this clearly: fortune may smile on you once by accident, but without discipline, you will squander it. Talent may open a door for you, but without discipline, you will walk past it. Connections may elevate you, but without discipline, you will fall from the height you were given. Discipline is the thread that stitches ambition into achievement. Without it, everything unravels. And make no mistake, discipline is war. Every day, you are at war with the part of you that seeks comfort, the part of you that whispers, "Not today," the part of you that begs for indulgence. That part is cunning, persistent, seductive. If you do not crush it, it will enslave you. The weak man believes his greatest enemy lies outside himself. His rivals, his critics, his circumstances. The wise man knows his fiercest enemy is within, and he defeats it daily mercilessly through discipline. But ruthless discipline is not merely denial. It is creation. Each act of restraint builds strength. Each refusal to bend builds unshakable will. Each day you submit yourself to this path, you grow sharper, harder, more dangerous. You begin to command yourself as a ruler commands his army, issuing orders, expecting obedience, punishing rebellion. This inner governance is the foundation upon which all outer power is built. Without it, you will crumble when the storm comes. With it, you will stand unbroken when others fall. Look at the great figures of history, and you will see the shadow of discipline behind them. The general who rose at dawn to study maps while his soldiers still slept. The philosopher who endured hunger and exile but never ceased writing. The leader who resisted the temptations of wealth, not because he despised them, but because he refused to be ruled by them. None of them were spared suffering. But all of them embraced discipline, not as punishment, but as liberation, the liberation from weakness, from distraction, from dependence. Ask yourself this: if you cannot command yourself, how can you command others? If you cannot conquer your own laziness, how can you conquer enemies who are ruthless and cunning? If you cannot endure discomfort, how can you endure the chaos of ambition? Power belongs only to those who first discipline themselves, for power is a heavy crown, and only a disciplined neck can bear its weight without breaking. The path of ruthless discipline will not make you loved. It will make you feared, respected, and above all, prepared. The masses live as slaves to appetite, chasing every pleasure, surrendering to every weakness. They call this freedom, but in truth they are chained. The disciplined man who denies himself today owns himself tomorrow. He chooses his chains, and in that choice he is free. We have spoken of weakness, of truth, of ruthless discipline. These are the foundations of power. Yet no throne is secured by a single man's will alone. Even the most cunning, the most disciplined, the most fearless cannot bend the world entirely by himself. He requires others, followers, allies, soldiers, servants, believers. Power, when multiplied, becomes unassailable. And this is the next law you must understand: the victory of collective strength. Look through the pages of history, and you will see the pattern repeat endlessly. Alexander conquered vast lands, but not with his sword alone. He commanded armies whose loyalty was bound to him, men who saw in him not merely a leader, but a destiny worth dying for. Napoleon bent nations to his will, but it was his ability to stir masses with his vision, to ignite the hearts of common soldiers, that carried him across Europe. A ruler without followers is nothing more than a dreamer with a crown of dust. But a ruler who unites his people, who binds their strengths together into a single, unstoppable force, that ruler becomes a storm. The Machiavellian truth about unity is this: men are weak alone, but terrifying when moved as one. The trick lies in awakening the collective will and shaping it toward your purpose. For men do not naturally unite. Left to themselves, they scatter, they quarrel, they pursue their own small desires. They need a voice to call them, a banner to rally under, a figure who convinces them that their individual struggles are fragments of something greater. When they believe this, they will march into fire. They will sacrifice their lives, not for themselves, but for the cause that has claimed their loyalty. But unity is not born from equality. It is born from hierarchy. A collective without structure is chaos. It devours itself before it ever rises. To wield collective strength, you must position yourself as the center, the axis around which all others orbit. Some will resist, but most crave direction. They long to be led, to be told where to march, to be given a role in something grander than themselves. They will surrender their freedom willingly if you promise them significance. And when they do, you will hold their power in your hand. Consider the psychology of the masses. They are easily swayed by symbols, by rituals, by the illusion of belonging. A clever leader understands this. He gives them words to chant, banners to raise, enemies to despise. He forges unity not by denying human weakness, but by weaponizing it. Men are bound more tightly by fear than by love, more fiercely by shared struggle than by comfort. The disciplined leader knows when to feed them pride and when to feed them terror. He does not rely on loyalty to his person alone, but on loyalty to the myth he embodies. For myths outlive men, and collective strength bound to a myth endures beyond any single lifetime. But make no mistake, unity is fragile if it is not maintained. A leader must constantly reinforce it with victories, with rituals, with reminders of the enemy that lurks beyond the gates. He must give his followers reasons to stay bound, lest they drift back into selfishness. Collective strength is not a fire you light once and walk away from. It is a fire that must be stoked daily, or it dies. Discipline builds the individual, constant vigilance builds the collective. Now look to your own life. You may not command armies, but you will still face the same truth. Alone, your voice is small. Alone, your struggle is fragile. Alone, you are vulnerable to the larger powers that move around you. But unite with others, men who share your cause, who share your hunger, who share your vision, and you will multiply your force tenfold. A solitary man may resist for a moment, but a disciplined collective can shape the destiny of nations. And yet, here lies the danger. Not all unity is strength. A weak man who unites with other weak men creates nothing more than a crowd of weakness. Their noise will rise, but their power will crumble at the first blow. True collective strength comes when disciplined individuals, men and women who have conquered themselves, bind together. A mob is fragile, but an army of sharpened wills, moving